things were going well here, and this is exactly what I thought would happen, but we will get back to that in a second. If you're wondering why I'm wearing a cowboy hat, it's because I had a work event yesterday, and there's a little bit of a theme of, Western attire was encouraged. I grew up in Colorado, which I consider to be cowboy adjacent, but I never considered myself like cowboy actual. But, I grew up, kind of close to it, so know how to wear the hat. Anyway, this is more my comfort zone. So we'll continue with this. There's a little bit of breaking news, and I'm not quite sure how solid it is yet, but this is from Motorsportive, and the breaking is that the FIA is changing the engine compression measurement test, and they're going to change it from ambient temperature to testing while hot. Now, one could go into, wow, how do you test an engine while it's hot? That's a whole different video, a bunch of technical stuff that I won't even begin to pretend to understand. I'm sure that the manufacturers have a way, otherwise they wouldn't be able to tweak the components so that the compression rate wasn't too high so that the engine doesn't knock. That's a whole different thing. But the key factors here is that Mercedes rivals are trying to urge the FIA to reconsider how they're doing the testing, because the 18-to-1 compression ratio means that they're going to have more power. I don't know if it's official yet. I think it's official. A lot of times when you see rumors come out, there are insiders who try to get the information out there. Planet F1, as far as I can tell, has not confirmed it. Car Scoops has not confirmed it. Motor Trend, Road and Track, Motorsport.com has not confirmed it. But we know that the rival teams have been getting a little bit closer to getting the FIA to kind of change this around. And rumor has it that it could take place before the first race of the year. If so, that would be the first time since, I want to say 1981, it would be the first time since 1981 that the FIA has banned a car before it could even turn a lap. And if you want the full breakdown of what happened with that car, you can actually watch one of my videos, because I did a video about the top 5 controversial designs in Formula One history, and one such design was from Colin Chapman, and it was the dual chassis car. I'm trying to remember the designation. If I can't remember it now, I'll put it in the video so that you can look up information on that car, or just watch the video that I made on it. But this would be, if the FIA did this, it would be huge, because as we remember, Mercedes isn't just the engine manufacturer for Mercedes, it's the engine manufacturer for McLaren, for Alpine, for Williams, and who's the other one? Anyway, it's gonna impact like half the grid, and if the rules change for Mercedes, then it's also going to be changed for Red Bull. Red Bull is already struggling. Williams is overweight, and yes, even McLaren, from what I understand, is also overweight. You could be slightly overweight if you had the advantage of more horsepower. If you don't have the advantage of more horsepower, being slightly overweight means that you're going to go from a front runner to a back marker, or at least, upper mid tier really quickly. So if this takes place, this is huge. And that thrusts Ferrari into a position of advantage. And also Aston Martin with all of its aerodynamics and stuff. And I think it was also maybe slightly overweight, but they've got more upgrades coming. We could see Ferrari and Aston Martin battling for podiums in 2026, which would be, it would be incredibly interesting. But yeah, 1981 was the last time the FIA banned a car before it could hit the racetrack. And if that happens this year, it could be, it could be earth-shattering in terms of the championship fight for certain manufacturers. Now, here's the part that I led with, me, spitting on the track. But I wanted to talk about sim racing just really quick. I've been wanting to talk about a little bit more in depth about sim racing for quite a while. And it's a little bit of a slow news week, except for what I just talked about. So sim racing, one of the key things about it is it's accessible by so many people. Racing, just even at the lowest levels, costs a lot of money. Sim racing is essentially, a one-time purchase unless you want to keep upgrading and upgrading and upgrading, but you can get in, and also it's relatively safe. There's a restart button. When you spin or you crash, you're not doing thousands of dollars of damage to yourself and to your car. So there are reasons why it's very valuable, but number one is the accessibility. Now, how does that translate technically? Well, so I do actually have to take a quick look at my notes here. But thing one, sim racing closely replicates real-world driving fundamentals. We're basically talking about modeling. Modern sim programs, they accurately model braking, acceleration, tire behavior, aerodynamics. So there's a lot of actual physics baked into the sim, and it models it very accurately. Now, in turn, what that allows you to do as a driver is to mimic your responses to those real world scenarios. So it makes sims a really effective way to learn a track, to learn, when to brake, to learn how, weather is going to affect you, cold tires, stuff like that, ambient track temperatures. And the fact that these days most of the tracks are laser scanned, the nuances of the track are actually translated into the sim racing program. Now that will come into play when we go back over to OBS Studios and I show you something. And I would say another thing that sim racing, especially a game like iRacing, where there are consequences for running into people, where there are consequences for going off track, what it does is it really trains you on racecraft. And you can be a fast driver and a terrible racer, because sometimes what happens is you get a little too eager, you want to go a little bit faster, and you end up with a collision or a spin or something. And if you don't finish the race, then you can't win. And that's fundamental. And that is respect for speed and respect for other objects flying around a track at high speeds. I have yet to find another sim program that ingrains that into you better than iRacing, because you want to finish. There's no restarts once you're in an actual race against other folks. And there's the emotional aspect. You take somebody out, 19 minutes through a 20-minute race, and you're going to hear about it. There is that emotional response, that responsibility that you've got. So sim racing is actually, I think, a really good tool. Now, let's get into, I actually did a lot of laps on the Barber Motorsports track this last year before I actually went out and raced it. And when I got back, something that was on my mind was like, how accurate was the sim versus the track? It's not very often that one gets to do that. And I have like a super direct comparison, and I'm going to show that to you right now. So before I get into this, and I'm going to play this, pretty shortly here, I would say the biggest gap that sim racing has to real life, obviously, is, the feeling of danger, the feeling of, high risk and all that kind of stuff, which it really does limit you in terms of how brave you are going into a corner, or, taking extra risks and stuff like that. But on the technical side, I would say that a real car, for me, a real car is almost easier to drive, or maybe it comes out as a 50-50, because with the real car, you're going based on, I mean, you can smell tire smoke, you can smell brake exhaustion, you feel the G's, you feel more subtle, bumps and nuances. There's just so much more. It's a complete sensory experience, and so you have more to go by for reactions, more than just like visual cues like the horizon and maybe the force feedback. You get the pedal sensitivity as well, so it is a little bit easier to control the vehicle, in my opinion. But the fact that there is the danger, there is the risk, there is like the no restart button portion of it, that is the part where it kind of like it comes out even. You end up driving at a similar pace, even though you have more tools at your disposal in real world driving it. Like you might go a similar pace, or maybe even a little bit slower, depending on who it kind of comes out in the wash. But I think that sim racing is actually really good training for real life driving. So without further ado, let's just kind of talk through this lap. So it just so happened that there was a Mustang in front of me in real life, and there's a red Mustang in front of me in the sim as well, which I thought was pretty amazing. And I'm actually at a very similar position on a similar part of the track as the Mustang in front of me, which is actually quite cool as well. Let's just play it out. So up top is real life, down bottom is iRacing. We're on the back straight. We're getting ready to go into turn one. The brake point for this was quite similar in the game. Turn in, quite similar. You want to get the apex. You want to get to the middle of the track, because on the corners you kind of off camber on both. So you get to the middle of the track, then you turn in, take that inside apex, then kind of go outside. And then here, turn 4 is very tricky. You need the wheel to be as straight as possible and the car to be as settled as possible. Now AI hit the brakes a lot quicker than the Mustang up top did. And then in real life, I was able to use the mid-engine to accelerate out a little bit harder than the Mustang. But in real life, this Mustang, the horsepower really came through, the horsepower advantage that the Mustang has. Now I think that there's a little bit of a variation between the skill levels, because while that red Mustang I was able to pass quite easily, this blue Mustang here, and I'm in a Mustang in this one, I was in a Porsche in real life, this blue Mustang here must have a higher AI rating, because this was very difficult to pass, just like the Mustang up top. Mustang up top, really good driver, took full advantage of power on the straights, and you can see me able to claw back, add a little bit of pressure through the corners. Now this corner up here in real life, very, very tricky. It's a very long, I'd almost say 2 apexes, and you have to slow down, get over to the inside, and then early apex this one, and it's going to set you up for a really good run down the straight. This is the setup right before the spin that I showed you at the front at the beginning of this video. And had I kept my learning from iRacing, I don't think I would have spun, and here's why. So here we are coming around that long turn 3 into turn 4, and here is where I ignored what I learned from iRacing and spun. Now I would have gotten the car right back on the track. That's the roof, unfortunately. I would have gotten the car right back on the track. Oh, this portion is pretty freaky. I had an inboard. interior camera in the car when I spun. I can't think of a better time to have an inboard camera than when something like this goes wrong, but it's really interesting to be able to play that back. Oh yeah, little frustration there. So yeah, I did have to get a tow, but we got the car back on track. But what I wanted to highlight was coming around turn 4. In the sim, I had spun at turn 4 many times, to the point where I was like, I'm going to be super careful and I'm going to accelerate less hard. I'm going to turn less hard and really make sure that the car is as flat and bounced as possible. Now, I'm sorry, I'm just going to let the car I'm going to let me get to the point of the track that I was. So here, and here's where I have to actually give my compliments to the Mustang driver. He saw me coming around the corner, and if you look, I've already passed him. Or I was already past seeing him. And I think that he had the power to keep up with me, but I think he was a good driver, and he saw that I was coming around the inside quickly, and he had seen from the previous lap that I had the ability to take corners a little bit faster than him. And so I think that he backed off a little bit because he knew at that speed I would kind of have to wash wide over to the left, and he was accounting for that. He was giving me room for that. Me, on the other hand, I was thinking that the Mustang was still beside me. And so you can see right here, I'm turning the wheel a lot more than I had in any previous lap. Had I realized that the Mustang driver was giving me room, I would have allowed the car to pull wide, and I probably would have completed the lap, and just kept going. But instead, I thought he was there, so I turned in, and you can see what happened next. So as it turns out, I was in a driver meeting, and I was showing this footage to one of the race organizers, and I look back, and Randy Popst is watching the footage like on my phone. He's kind of like standing right there over my shoulder. He's watching it, and so he tells me that what probably happened is because the front end lifts a bit when you're going over turn 4. If your wheels are turned, when it lifts, the car starts going a little bit straighter, and then when it slams back down on the ground, it catches, and it catches hard. And you've got all this pressure encouraging the pressure on the tires, the traction on the tires, encouraging the car to turn. It is way unsettling. And if you come down like that, there's nothing that you can do except spin. So if you're going to carry speed over turn 4 at Barber Motorsports Park, you have to have the wheels as straight as possible, which is what I had been doing until I thought the Mustang was beside me. Now, I experienced that in iRacing, and that was the cause of the spin in iRacing, over and over again, but I didn't quite know the physics behind it. I didn't know if it was because I was going too fast. I didn't know if it's I had my theories. I was thinking about it, but when I heard that, it all made sense. So had I known that was the case, I probably would have actually not attempted to pass the Mustang. I would have just attempted to outbrake the Mustang going into turn 5. Probably would have taken me another lap or two to pass him. There are a couple of other points in the lap where I know I was losing time to that Mustang, but I know that I could have made it up through a little bit of adjustment and better driving. So again, being a little bit more patient, I think in this instance would have made me a much better driver in the racecraft portion of it. But also, had I just listened to what I learned in iRacing, I think I would have been just fine. And that is telltale the importance of sim racing these days and just how accurate sim racing has gotten, which is why the likes of the Max Verstappens and the new up and comers, it's why they are so quick and why they're so able to adjust so quickly. Let's watch this again. So again, passing here, I'm already past the Mustang. I could have opened up and shot over to the left. Instead, I turned too hard, and that is what happened. Again, we got back onto track, but it definitely slowed down the momentum. Anyway, thanks for watching. I've been Dalton. This has been the Petrolist, and you have been great. I'll see you on Monday.